Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would also like to stand on the existing protocol. And I would like to say that the paper presented has raised so many issues being discussed across the country. I'm not going to repeat what the presenter has given us, but I'm going to raise some issues, some of the points he may not have raised, or has been raised, or are raised in public discourse in Nigeria in isolation of the reality. That's what I will try to do. First of all, when we discuss Nigerian federalism, there are 4 major challenges as far as I'm concerned. And if you compare our fiscal federalism with what happens in the world, you could see that there are many varieties. There's no one single formula. Take, for example, in Nigeria, there are 4 principal revenue bases. 3 of them are federal, that is oil and gas, royalties, licenses and fees, corporate income tax, and VAT. Now, personal income tax in Nigeria is vested in the state. This is unique. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. It's only in Nigeria. It's a unique formula. Personal and corporate income taxes are typically either exclusively federal or shared in some federations. No federation assigns personal income tax exclusively to the states. Value-added tax and sales taxes are also usually exclusively federal, and in some federations are shared. Now, when we come to onshore, offshore, in states such as United States, Canada, and Australia, onshore oil is vested in the state. But in the United States, the central government retains substantial land resources. In all federations, apart from these 3, mineral resources, oil and non-oil resources are all vested in the center, not in the states. So natural resources are all vested in the center. This is particularly true when we look at the countries like Mexico, Venezuela, and Russia. So our arrangement, where gas ownership and revenues are federal, is not unusual. Now, when we look at federation account, again here, we see that we have some unique arrangement in this country. We have consolidated revenue account and federation account. In all countries, they operate consolidated revenue account. There's nothing like federation account. Federation account is unique to Nigeria. Now, when we compare Nigeria with other countries, we tend to focus too much, because of the federation account, we tend to focus too much on sharing. The debate is on sharing. We do not actually give attention to revenue generation and how public funds are actually used in this country. We certainly have fiscal challenges in Nigeria. One of those challenges is how to run our petrol economy. The second one is the regional and vertical equity, which he has raised in his paper. And then how to coordinate our policies. Now, the concentration on oil revenue has raised so many issues in this country. One, it has raised the issue of accountability. It has raised the issue of accountability precisely because our revenue base is very, very narrow. And he has mentioned that most states depend on oil revenue, on the federal government to do so. But is it unique to Nigeria? Again, the argument is that it's not unique to Nigeria. If you want to restructure, we could structure. But we shouldn't argue that it is unique to Nigeria. It is not so. If you take all countries that are oil producing, they depend heavily on the center. In fact, in terms of transfer, of resources from the center to the periphery, Nigeria is ahead of so many oil-producing countries, so many mineral-producing countries. The only countries ahead of Nigeria are Belgium, Germany, and Germany. Now, in the case of Nigeria, in terms of revenue sharing, again, it is the most skewed in the world. Now, why am I saying so? In the first instance, if you look at the variables we use in revenue sharing, number one, we say 40% of the resources will be shared equally among states. The states are not actually the same. In many countries, they look at other factors. But all other factors that we've built into revenue sharing in this country, like population, landmass, and so on and so forth, are all used in other countries. In fact, if we say our federation is centralized, and you compare it with a country like India, India is much more centralized than Nigeria. Of course, he has mentioned the fact that all federations are product of a history and circumstances. So we can't say because India is over-centralized, Nigeria should be. But the point I'm trying to make is that when we argue in this country, when we argue for restructuring, we base our argument on the fact that what is happening in Nigeria is unique to Nigeria. It's not so. In fact, there are two things that are unique to Nigeria, which favors the state, which do not exist in other federations. I've mentioned that federal income tax, VAT, and so on and so forth. In this, transfer from the center to the periphery is about 13 to 25 in the United States of America. Now, when we look at responsibilities,